everyone, aceofclay here, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'll be sculpting a leprechaun. Alright, before we get started, I just want to thank you guys for all of your suggestions on what you wanted to see me sculpt next. In my last video, I saw a bunch of comments for a leprechaun, and that's what I went with, and that's why we're here today. So, I really hope you like him. I'm really happy with how he turns out. I keep looking down there because he's right there, and I want to show you, but I can't. Anyway, let's get started. Alright, here we go. For this figurine, I'm using a different method for armature. Instead of having the wireframe his entire body, I'm going to be creating his body completely with aluminum foil, and then I'm going to poke his limbs into that later on. I use this method when I'm working with a larger bodied figurine, and I find that it works great. Another plus is that I don't have to commit to the final shape of the figurine right off the bat. It gives me a little more freedom, and that works great for me because I'm sculpting this straight from my head without any plans or a sketch. Alright, so now that I have the body shaped out with aluminum foil, I covered that with clay. Now I'm just roughly creating his head just to get an idea for how it's going to look before proceeding to the next step. Just smoothing everything out here, making sure there's no lumps. Now it's time to create his shoes. And I'm just making the general shape in aluminum foil here, of course. And then I'm going to cover that with clay as well and then detail them. And then as always, all of the tools and materials that I use in this video are listed down below in the description box, along with my affiliate links if you'd like to purchase anything. Just roughly shaping out the shoes here, and those are looking pretty good. Now I'm going to add the legs to the shoes. I'm using a bamboo skewer. You could also use a wooden dowel. These are just cheaper and you get way more in a pack, so I just always use those. Now to cover the legs that I just added, I rolled out a piece of clay and then cut a slit down the middle, not going all the way through, and I am wrapping that around the skewer like that. Now I'm going to create an exaggerated collar for the shoes. I got this piece of clay from my pasta maker on the thickest setting, and I'm just cutting out the shape that I want, and I'm going to wrap it around the top of the shoe and around the leg, blend in the bottom, and then fold over the top. And there we go, it's coming to life. Now I'm going to create some buckles for the shoes, and I put this clay through my pasta maker as well, I think on the second to thickest setting. And I'm just shaping that out here using my palette knife to cut it out, and I just attached it with some bacon bond. Adding some details to the bottom of the shoe here. Detailing the sole, and then creating some nice seams and stitching along the other parts of the shoe. And I'm using this end of my Explorer tool to create the stitch marks. And thank you to the subscriber who told me what this tool is called. And I'm just really trying to play up these stitches because I love how they look once they're painted. I've done them before, they look great. And then because I had to take the buckle off to make the stitching, I'm just adding it back on here with some bacon bond. And after doing the other foot off camera, they're looking good. Time to create some holes in the body to add the legs to. Like that, and it's standing. I'm really excited about that. And then now, thinking ahead, I'm just poking a hole through the top of the body for the arms. And after some brushing with clay softener to remove fingerprints, it's ready for the first bake. Then while that's in the oven, I'm just going to create a large gold coin with a 4-leaf clover on it out of extra firm Super Sculpey. And I'm using extra firm just because it's a little bit easier to work with for something like this. Then after shaping out the coin, I am adding some ridges here. And then shaping out the leaves on my 4-leaf clover. Then once I have those shaped out, I'm just creating a nice little notch at the top of each one, kind of making it into a heart shape. And then shaping it out with my finger after cutting it with a palette knife, a broken palette knife. Then once I have those shaped out, I'm just adding them to the coin and blending the edges in using ball styluses, my spoon tool, a color shaper, whatever gives me the result I want. Then here I'm adding a little stem, blending that in as well. Adding some final details, brushing the surface with clay softener to remove all my fingerprints, and then I pre-bake this. And then once our leprechaun is completely hardened and cooled down, I'm going to create the pant legs. Pre-baking the sculpture at this point makes it so much easier for me to add additional details to completed areas. If I didn't pre-bake this, it would probably double my production time because I'd be smashing areas and fixing them over and over, and just overall taking longer in general as I try to not ruin anything. It also helps for this guy in particular because he's freestanding, he's not mounted, and the baked legs will support the weight of the rest of him better than if they were uncured. But then, even with that, you do, of course, still have to be gentle. If you're too rough or forceful, you can crack the thing, and nobody wants to waste time patching. Alright, so back to the sculpting here. I just created a nice little vest for him that I'm detailing here. I end up redoing this line and offsetting the one side. Yep, there we go. Now I'm just adding some buttons, pressing those in with my large ball stylus to create a nice button shape for them, and then poking out little holes. And then to finish off his outfit, I'm just creating his jacket, and this is just a nice piece of clay from the pasta maker on the thickest setting. Just placed it on there, blending in the top, bent out the lapels a little bit, and then now it's time to start his head. Then here I'm just adding a bamboo skewer to it so that I can hold that instead of smashing his face when I'm trying to do all the details. Adding a lower jaw, I pressed out where his eyes are going to go really quick. That ends up changing a little bit, I think. I'm just blending everything out, adding the first set of eyes that don't make it to completion, but that's fine, at least I know where they're gonna go. And then when I was picturing this leprechaun, his personality and like what I wanted his face to look like, I really wanted to create him to look like he's untrustworthy, like a con artist. Like he wants you to believe him, he wants you to think he's your friend, but at the end of the day, he's just up to no good and he screws you over because all he wants is your money. So then to achieve this look, I want all of his features to be very close together. I want his face to be so expressive to the point where I want you to almost know what he's thinking. I want a crazy brow bone, a big pointy nose, a very wide sort of creepy grin, bringing it all together, and then just bringing this guy to life. He's definitely someone you don't want to run into. Now that I have most of the facial details roughed out, I'm just bulking out the area above his upper lip there, detailing some things, adding some nice smile lines and cheeks with this piece here, just further enhancing that grin. And I think at this point when I was sculpting, this is when I had my sigh of relief, like I know this is gonna work out, let's just keep going. Because as always, for the entire duration of this video that you've seen so far, I didn't know what I was doing the whole time, but now I can see it in his face. His creepy, untrustworthy scam artist face. And now it's time to make his ears. I do have a full tutorial on how to sculpt a human ear, and I will link that up at the top there. This is basically following the same steps, but just extending the top of the ear and bringing it to a point. For some reason, this was not a good ear day for me, so I do go through this part pretty quickly. I'd much rather you watch the dedicated tutorial I have on how to make ears than follow the steps that I show in this video, so just being honest. And then here I'm just detailing his lips, creating some vertical and horizontal lines with my dental tool, shaping everything out. And then for some final touches, I'm using my smallest ball stylus and my dental tool to add some wrinkles. And I'm just getting him as perfect as possible before it's time to bake again. And I'm doing the same thing with his body, using my color shaper here to create some wrinkles in his clothes. Just adding another level of detail, and then rolling the textured part of my tools around the surface of the fabric to create a nice little texture, adding some nice stitch marks and seams like that, and just bringing it to completion. Now I'm just giving him some pockets, detailing those. And now it's time to add the arms. Just adding a nice piece of wire through the top there, through the hole that I made earlier, bending them out, trying to see what the coin's gonna look like where I want to put it. Now it's time to make his hands. And I know I still don't have a full tutorial up on how to make hands, so I left all of the footage of it in this video. You know these are not my favorite things to sculpt, but what you gonna do, he's gotta have them. And then to go with the style of the figurine, I'm making the hands oversized. This helps me a little because sculpting larger things is always easier for me. And hand tutorial coming soon, promise. Just have to find the time. Now to add some clay to the arms here, I just rolled out a piece and cut a slit down the middle without going all the way through to the other side. And then I wrap that around the wire, like so, doing the upper arm as one piece and the forearm as a separate piece, just so I don't forget where my elbow is. I'm just adding the hand like so, and I want this one to be sort of holding on to the edge of his jacket, and then the other one is going to be holding the gold coin that I made and pre-baked. Or actually, I didn't pre-bake the coin. I'm taking a risk and not pre-baking it, but because it is extra firm Sculpey, it's a little bit harder to smash than if I were to have used just regular Super Sculpey. So that's good. Now I'm just trying to figure out where to put the coin in his hand. I want it to look as natural as possible, not like he's displaying it. I think I arrived at a good solution. Now I'm just adding some more details by adding some buttons to his cuffs, some more seams, some more stitching, some more texture, and getting him ready for another pre-bake. At his head, using a generous amount of bacon bond. You can't really see it, but I add a lot of it to the hole on his body and then around the base of the skewer in his head, so that it's a really, really strong bond. Now I'm brushing the entire surface with some clay softener to remove fingerprints, and then popping them in the oven. Now that he's baked and completely cooled down, it's time to add his hair and his beard. This was a really fun process for me. I really enjoyed doing this because it brought the whole thing together. It took him from Harry Potter Goblin to Leprechaun, and you'll see what I mean in a sec. Then to create his beard, I just rolled out a piece of clay that tapers at each end so that it's thickest in the middle, and then I just bring it to a point. Like that. Making sure everything's nice and blended. And some people have asked me if I use Bacon Bond to attach new clay to clay that's cured, like what I'm doing with his beard, and I really don't. As long as the clay is conditioned well and it's sticky enough, I don't have any problems. The only time I will use Bacon Bond for this is if the clay is not sticky enough, and I actually do that when I add his eyelids in a minute. I'm just adding some lines for his hair here on the back using my Dental Explorer tool. And then to create the texture for his beard, I want it to be different than his hair, so I'm just using my firm rubber tool and a color shaper to create this. And I really like how this turns out. I'm glad I didn't do the same texture for both. And that's looking pretty good. I'm pretty satisfied. Now it's time to create the eyelids like I just mentioned, and here I'm learning that I need the Bacon Bond, so I add that, brush it on, and the clay sticks much better. Just shaping those out. The first one took me like 2 seconds, and the second one took me forever. I don't know why. It always works out like this. When I have to make two of something, one always gives me trouble. I don't know why, but we're good. and they look good, and I'm happy, and that's awesome. Now I'm trying to figure out what kind of hat I want to give this guy. I end up going with the tall top hat style here, and I just shaped it out with aluminum foil. Cover that with polymer clay, of course. And then add a couple wrinkles, some details using my firm rubber tool and my dental tool. Again, some more stitching like that. Now it's time to create the brim. I'm just shaping that out, then adding some bacon bond to attach the top, and then here you can see how much I'm losing my mind. I attach it upside down and I don't realize it for a couple seconds. Like, what the hell? Come on, Anthony, get it together. Alright, removing that bacon bond and trying that again. Shaping everything out, adding some final details, seeing what it looks like on his head. Then I'm adding a nice little ribbon here and a belt buckle to finish it off. Now it's time to make his eyebrows. I want him to have really crazy long eyebrows that extend off of his face. So in order to do this and make sure that they're structurally sound, I am reinforcing them with a piece of floral wire. This made it really difficult for me to do them, but it was necessary, so that's what I do. And then I just attach them with some bacon bond and then further detail them. And then I attach his hat with some bacon bond as well. I probably should have accounted for this and put like a skewer in his head for that, but I don't, and it worked out, so there's that. He's ready for the oven. Then out of the oven, once he's completely cooled down, of course, it's time to paint him. And I'm starting with his skin. Painting the first coat. The first coat is always really sheer. It takes a couple to really bring out the color. And then for the second coat here, I decided that I want him to have a muted, gloomy, desaturated color scheme. So I added a very tiny bit of black to his skin color to achieve this. And then I follow this method for the rest of his colors as well. So then once these areas are completely covered and dry, I am going in and highlighting with a lighter beige that I created simply by adding more white to the base color. And now I'm going in and darkening his eye sockets and the areas around his eyelids. I created this color by adding black to the base skin color. Just going in, adding some final details here. Now it's time to paint his eyes. Now I'm just coloring his lips. To get this color, I just added a little bit of red to the base skin color that I've been using. Finishing off his eyes here. And I'm loving how he's looking. I'm so happy with this guy at this point. I'm just painting his gold coin, a nice desaturated mustard yellow color. And then over that, I'm just adding some splendid gold Americana metallic to finish off the coin. Now I'm painting his shirt, a nice little toned down chartreuse, painting his pants a darker green. I want every piece of clothing to be a different color. Even if it's just a slight difference, I want them to be different. I think that adds another level of detail and dimension, as always. Adding some highlights here, painting the buttons. I'm painting his coat. And then all the colors match, but they are not exactly the same. And here it stopped recording and I didn't notice, so I don't have any footage of me painting the hat, hair, beard, and eyebrows. I am so sorry about that. I was just really focused, I guess, on what I was doing because normally I notice when that happens. And he's done! The leprechaun is complete. Let me know what you think of him in the comments. that's a wrap. I really hope... And that's a wrap. I really hope you like the leprechaun. I am so happy with how he turned out. Let me know what you think I should name him. And then just for scale purposes, he's that big. Also, let me know what you think I should sculpt next. The music for this video was created custom by Tiff Music. He does awesome work. I will link his YouTube channel and his Patreon down below, so please check that out if you get a sec. All of the materials used in this video and tools are listed down below, along with my affiliate links if you want to purchase them. Then of course, as always, thank you so much for being here. We just hit 60,000 subscribers, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. If you liked this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook at aceofclay. I'm also trying to use my Twitter now too, so if you want to check me out there, it's at aceofclay too. Thanks for watching, and thanks for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.